Hello and welcome to Focus on Liberia. This is Roundtable Africa. I'm your host, Sekou Kele, and I'm very happy for the edition of our broadcast. Our topic for today is, okay, I think my technical man is gone. Our topic for today is Guinea in political turmoil. The military takes over. And joining us today, we have two special guests on our show. Brother Vasiki Kwane from USA. He's a Liberian author and a political analyst. Also have Brother Sidiki Kamara. He is also an author and a Liberian, a Pan-Africanist. Gentlemen, you are all welcome. And also, not forgetting my co-host, Edward Amara, all the way from Sierra Leone. Gentlemen, you are all welcome.
Well, thank you for giving us the opportunity to come on your show today. It's great being here to discuss about what is going on today in the Republic of Guinea, our sisterly republic. We all belong to the Mana River Union, and what is going on there right now is something that we never expect few days ago. And moving forward is something that is a concern to all of us as Africans. And it's a major topic of discussion today all over Africa and all over the world. So it's great to be here so that we all can share our idea or maybe opinion on what is happening on the ground in Guinea. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Vasiki Kwane. Brother Sidiki Kwane, welcome.
Kamara.
Yeah, Sidiki Kamara, sorry. So
Yeah,
what do you think about today's program?
Thank you very much, Mr. Kelly. It is a privilege to be on your show. And I think this is very important. It's a very important topic. Any security problem in Guinea of that skill, any security challenge in Guinea of that magnitude that could potentially degenerate into conflict should be of concern to citizens of the Mana River Union and West Africa in general, and even the entire continent. So I think it's a very important topic that we need to discuss and know what went wrong and what steps can be taken to prevent a recurrence of similar political stalemate that resulted into a coup. So thank you. I think it's a topic worthy of the kind of discussion that you have put together.
Thank you very much, Brother Sidiki Kwane. We are happy to have you. Hello, Amara. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much, and I want to express my thanks and appreciation for our noble guests that are here. I think our Guinea situation is absolutely very important, especially when we share borders with them, and this is kind of rare occurrence into Africa. Things like this don't need to be pampered, and I believe any negative happening into Guinea will have a concomitant effect on the neighboring countries, especially Liberia. You talk about Sierra Leone, like Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, Senegal, all the 6 countries that Guinea share borders with. Having said that, let me just give you the brief rundown of the various happening into Africa. We out of the lot that are actually taking place into Africa, I have managed to select the few 5 and most interesting one. The first we have we have a Guinea coup, a step backward, described by President Yoweri Museveni of Uganda. Then we also see mass grave discovered in Ethiopia, Tigray region. We also have Nigeria separatist leader Nnamdi Kanu has sued President Buhari. Then another one, Venezuela envoy. Venezuela orders Kebab to send back their envoy, while Kebab is asking the envoy to be extradited to America. Then finally, 6 people is banned from attending any school in DRC Congo. To go into details or brief details into this thing, first, President Yoweri Museveni of Uganda, who have been ruling the country over the past 3 decades, has described the coup d'etat in Guinea as a step backward. He actually confirmed that coup d'etat was part of African solution into the 1960s, but because of Though we are no longer under colonization, any attempt for the military to intervene into African politics should be seen as a step backward. And he also asked the African Union to order the military to get out and let President Alpha Conde be given back to power. And he said things like that shouldn't be encouraged. Then mass grave discovered in Ethiopia Amhara region. Ethiopia has been fighting war with one of their regions, Tigray region, and Tigray is one of the regions that is actually one of the 11 autonomous regions that are actually found in Ethiopia. And mass graves have been discovered. We are 102 mass graves we actually discovered. 119 people we are buried into the grave, and most of these people are farmers, priests, children, and women. The government have actually accused the Tigrayan rebel force to be the people behind the perpetration. Unfortunately, no comment have been given by the Tigray rebel group, and we are expecting them to comment on this wide allegation level against them. Another one, Nigeria, Nnamdi Kanu sued President Buhari to court. Nnamdi Kanu is actually one of the separatist leaders into Nigeria, and he's facing trial because of illegal possession of arms, running an illegal company into the country. Then at the same time, money laundering. However, Nnamdi Kanu lawyer have decided to sue Buhari into court and also ask Buhari to pay him 5 billion naira or $12 million or 8 million euro. They are saying that it's right we are being infringed upon, forceful extradition, and also other violations of human rights, while he was actually forcefully extradited from Kenya into Nigeria. And he's asking the government to release him immediately, claiming that he has done no wrong and he should definitely be released. Then 5 students have been banned from attending any school in DRC Congo. 5 pupils actually have been banned from attending any school in DRC Congo. That statement came from Tony Mwanda, the education minister into DRC Congo. Those people we actually found, they filmed a kind of sex video on the school campus, and those things we have been leaked. And it was seen that kind of a moral thing that is not acceptable, and they have decided to ban those students and circulated their pictures and their personal information that no school actually should admit them. However, the human rights institutions have condemned the act that the children have the right to share what they feel is necessary for them, and things like that should not be taken. Then finally, Kebab ordered the Venezuelan envoy to be extradited to America for trial. The man also who hold another Colombian award citizenship was arrested 2 years ago in Kebab when he stopped at the international airport in Kebab to refuel his plane. It was discovered that he was actually involved into money laundering. However, the information given to the Kebab authorities were that he was on an errand going to Iran on an official visit. But after investigation, he was discovered to be involved into money laundering. The High Court in Kebab had decided to avoid a decision, while President Nicolas Maduro of Venezuela is describing the act as an unnecessary political vision, and the man has an international passport and also diplomatic immunity, and he should be released with immediate effect. So far, so good. These are the important stories emanating out of Africa.
Thank you, our West African correspondent there, Edward Amara from Sierra Leone. Definitely, there's a lot going on around the continent and in the sub-region of West Africa. But for the sake of today's broadcast, we will be discussing this topic, Guinea in political turmoil. We'll take our first question now. What are the reasons behind the military takeover in Guinea? Where did President Conte go wrong? Professor Vasiki Kwane will begin with you. We woke up on Sunday to the news that the military have taken over the leadership in Guinea. And as our West African correspondent just said, many African leaders describe it as a step backward. Instead of going forward, it seems we are going backward. What's the reason behind this coup d'etat?
Well, as we've heard on many occasions, when military takes over, they will come out with myriad of reasons why they took over. What we heard right now from the military and maybe from some of the people we talk to on the ground is that despite the fact that Guinea is a rich country in terms of mineral resources such as the bauxite, which is in demand all over the world, that there's huge poverty in Guinea, economic hardship, And to make matter worse, Alpha Conde, I think 2 years ago, decided to change the constitution to prolong his stay in power. Economic factor is everywhere in Africa. So I don't think that should be reason for any overthrow now. Working together as a people in the democratic system to right the wrong is the best way forward. But of course, the Guinean military deemed it necessary to remove Alpha Conde. And maybe one of the reasons also that have not been highlighted is the fact that Conde is not in good health. Okay, so as a result, people decided to move him through a military coup. But in the democratic system, if the president is not in good health, there's a democratic way to let a person leave power or resign or abdicate power. But unfortunately, we see the military takeover in Guinea, which is being celebrated by so many people. But my first reaction to it was that it was a step in the wrong direction, because the same reasons given by the military for their takeover has been the same reason all over Africa whenever military takes over. So it has never produced any result that benefited people, maybe with the exception of what happened in Ghana with Rawling and what happened in Burkina Faso with Thomas Sankara. But military coup d'etat has always been disaster for Africa.
Thank you very much, Professor. Brother Kone, are you there? Kamara. So
yes, I'm here.
Professor Kone just said the reasons are not good enough. The military cited rampant corruption, human rights violation. They said the president violated the constitution by, amending the constitution and going for third term. But I think you said those reasons are not good enough. We've seen the same reason, excuses being given over and over for military takeover. What's your take? Sorry, we got some glitches there, technical issue. Edward Amara, can you come through on that?
Thank you very much. I just listened carefully to what the professor submitted. I think those are very good submissions. However, we should understand that each and every time a government takes over a country, you have what you call social contract. And if you fail to fulfill your social contract, it is the responsibility of the people to either demand your departure or you should either relinquish power or power should quit you. They say if you don't quit power, power will quit you. We all know that Guinea has been living, the Guinea per se has tasted a lot of political draconian leadership. And Alpha Conde is not the only person, although he is actually a surprise. I think his leadership came as a surprise and a huge disappointment for all Guineans, because we know how Alpha Conde was in opposition for quite a long time, over 40 years. He came into power, so people were expecting him to actually retain the tenets of democracy. Unfortunately,
hold on. Somebody is on. I'll bring you on back, Mr. Kamara. Yeah, continue, please.
Unfortunately, he chooses to, or he chooses to follow the footsteps of his predecessors. One thing, democratic principles we have been hugely violated into Guinea in the name of
Hello, can you hear me?
In the name of Alpha Conde running for another third time. Gross corruption. Then at the same time, total politicization of public administration. Then one person manipulating the system. So we understand that the military responsibility is not actually to lead, but we must understand that when even Mamadi Doumbouya took over, he said he used one of the quotations given by Kwame Nkrumah, who was one of the most respected military leader or head of state into Africa after his death, and he set Ghana on the tenet of democracy, institute certain things that Ghanaians are actually enjoying today. That when the people are being crushed by their elite, it is up to the military to restore their freedom, and he used it. We know it is actually wrong. I am not subscribing to the mentality of military taking over into Africa. However, when our government or people that we elect into power choose to go the other way around, it is the responsibility of the military to come over. Everybody knew that Guinea was on a gunpowder. Nobody knew when it would happen. But the coup d'etat is definitely not a surprise, though it is a disappointment of Africa. I think we should understand that. Brutality is needed.
Thank you very much, Amara. Well, back to you, Brother Sidiki Kamara. Thank God you are back. The professor said the reasons are not good enough. We've been seeing this same excuses over and over. Edward Amara just said, but it's the violation of the rule of law. The president did not play by the rule, so you should expect things like this. What's your take? Why should the military take over in Guinea? What are the reasons? Is the reason good enough?
I think the professor is very right. He's correct in saying that the reasons are not good enough, because it's just a recitation of traditional reasons that junta leaders gave for staging coup in Africa. There's nothing significantly different from what we usually hear. It's nothing concrete, nothing substantial that they said that could show that there was a need for the military to intervene. However, like Brother Amara said, when you have a situation where there is a conspicuous breach of constitution, the military will maybe think that if there is clear violation here, and we can be able to also intervene, so that instead of our violation being the issue, people will justify it by saying that there was already an existing violation. But one thing Professor Kone touched on briefly that I want to expand on is the issue of the health of the president. Okay, the health of the president is a very key factor here. I believe that the president's recent visit to Morocco, a recent medical visit to Morocco, may have revealed maybe that he was not in very good health, and information may have leaked that his health wouldn't have permitted him to continue his tenure. So apparently the military saw that there was a need to overthrow him, not to allow him die in office, to create a power vacuum. They may have miscalculated that a power vacuum would have been more catastrophic. So it was their responsibility. They gave the responsibility to themselves to be the one to create stability. And also there may have been some inter-ethnic and intra-ethnic dimension to the conflict. Intra-ethnic in the sense that in the line of succession is Damaro, who is the speaker. The Guinean constitution provides that the speaker will ascend automatically to the presidency in case of incapacity or death of the president. So Damaro being from the forest region and he being from a different sect, or how may I say, he's from a different region, though they belong to the same ethnic group. So historically, people have always fought for representation in politics. People have always fought for regional, ethnic representation, and in some areas, religious representation. So the Konyeka people from the forest region saw Damaro, or still see Damaro, as the closest they have been to power in Guinea. So, and in the event where the president would die in office, Damaro will automatically ascend. And there's this rivalry, there's this intra-ethnic rivalry between it's not a very significant rivalry, but it does exist between the Konyaka on the one hand and the Maninkas on the other hand. So from the founding of Guinea, Guinea has always been ruled by the Maninka group. That may be one theory that is plausible. So Alpha Kone, Sekou Touré was from the Farana region. Alpha Kone is from the Krosa region, and the closest the Konekas have come has been the speakership. So I would have thought that, I would think that the military may have thought that if there may have been gossip or there may have been that discussion that in the case of the president's death, the Koneka would have taken over. So it's important for us to cease power before that happens. That may not have been a significant mainstream argument, but that could be one theory. Another theory could have been there was this rivalry between Doumbouya and the defense minister, Mamadi Janet. There was this very stiff rivalry, very visible rivalry between them. So if the military had not moved in, especially the special forces had not moved in, and the mainstream military would have done it because Janet was the defense minister. He's not comfortable with Doumbouya. So if the president had died in office, maybe Doumbouya and his men, who are in larger number, would have taken over the country. So maybe the special forces tried to use their...
Sorry, it seems that we lost Brother Siddiqui Kamara there, so some glitches over there. Well, thank you very much, brother. You know, this is very, very interesting. A lot of theories out there about why this coup d'etat was staged. But, okay, Siddiqui, are you back? No, still having some problem. Okay, so there are a lot of theories, Professor, and we cannot really say for sure. What we know is that the military have said in their communication there's rampant corruption, human rights violation, and the violation of the Constitution. Those are the reasons they give. And you said those are traditional. It's like this is just a generic thing that people always use when they do coup d'etat. They just enumerate those things and then that's it. But the actual reasons are always the personality of the people who will do the coup d'etat. What they will do later on will be the right intent that we are going to know. So that brings us to our second question. Who is this Mamadi Doumbouya?
Before the second question, I don't know, because I had wanted the professor to throw certain light. Is it saying that the leadership of Alpha Condé, the former president, never demanded for a radical change like that? Change is needed when things goes wrong. And nobody has Alpha Condé. So is it actually trying to qualify the mentality, the draconian leadership of Alpha Condé? Because people needed him to uphold democracy, maintain their rights, have equal justice instead of those violations. We all saw what happened. So instead of him, instead of Alpha Condé to have done what he did, I think it's just like Nimisi. What he did warranted his downfall. So if the professors trying to subscribe to Alpha Condé's draconian leadership, saying that those were not enough reason, because those are the reasons that are instituted into the Constitution, and Alpha Condé come from those background for him to actually implement them, implement them. But he violated them. So what do you expect?
I agree with Amara. Let me respond to that. Before you respond. Yeah, just a quick follow-up. I agree with Amara there. Like, let us call a spade a spade. Like, the man did not play by the rule. Are we saying that we will let him off the hook just because we dislike military and actually ignore what Alpha Condé has done? The betrayal of an entire generation. He being an icon of democracy. Don't we think he also erred? Professor,
before the professor comes in,
I do agree.
Yeah, let the professor speak. You come in later, sorry.
I do agree with Amara Edward when he says that Alpha Condé is a huge disappointment, not only to Guineans, but to all Africans for that matter. He was in opposition against Sékou Touré. Sékou Touré might have had justifiable reason for the way he did things because he was fighting against the colonial people, the French people. All right. So if Alpha Condé was in opposition to Touré, he was in opposition to Lassana Conté, and he was in opposition to Dadi Camara, people expected him to be the Mandela of Guinea. And having ruled for 2 terms to change the constitution, that was a clear violation. We all agree on that. So if there's any reason for the military that is tangible enough for what happened is the fact that Conte changed the constitution to remain in power. But again, to me, that should have been done by the people through demonstration on the street to make sure that either he resigned peacefully or, if there was a massive of people on the street like it was in Sudan, people are on the street every day. So that prompted the military to intervene in Sudan, and I think that happened in many other places. We didn't see widespread condemnation and demonstration on the street. The people that were against what happened in Guinea when he changed the constitution was the opposition, mostly the Fulani. Okay, but the Fulani argument for power in Guinea is flawed. They will say, oh, Mandinga has been leader, Soso has been leader, now it's time for Fulani people to be leader. So to me, if we all respect democracy, let's allow democracy to play out. If it went through the democratic process, then that's fine. But again, like I said, when we say we heard the same thing from the military over and over and over, the only tangible reason they have now is they may change the constitution to remain in power. That is a genuine point. Stressed by Amara. I agree with that.
Okay, Seriki, you want to say something quick before we move to our next question?
There is no defense for Professor Alpha Condé staying long in power or going up to third term. In fact, when you look at the time he changed the constitution, it was just about 7 months to elections, and during COVID-19, and there were so many other things that should have happened before the actual constitutional reform that didn't happen. Sensitization, broad-based consultation, so many other things that were missing from the equation. So there can be no defense, no strong defense for he staying in power that long. Having said that, there is also no way that we should embrace military takeover in Africa. Historically, military takeover has been very disastrous for African countries. When you look at a country like Mali that has experienced more than 10 coups d'etats, Mali keeps going backward economically, socially, politically, and even in terms of religious tension, is being fueled by the lack of stable leadership in Mali. So there can be, no one in Africa should back a military takeover. Men in arms cannot rule with civility easily. You can't always be lucky to have a Sankara or a Jerry Rawlings, so you cannot play gamble with the military. So I agree fully with Professor and Edward. It's just that we have to agree already. I think there's an agreement among us already that we do not accept Professor Condé staying long in power up to 13. We do not also accept the military. We have to reject the military taking over in any African country because of the experience we have had. The only good experience we have had with military has been Thomas Sankara and Gerald Rawlings. And even with that, there were challenges. With those two good ones, there were serious challenges with human rights violations and the respect of the Constitution.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think we all agree. I think Amaratu will agree that we all reject the military takeover. But however, we do not also appreciate the way Professor Condé was leading the country. So that leads us to the second question very quickly, gentlemen. Who is Mamadi Doumbouya, the newest kid on the block in Guinea? So I look at it here. In 2014, I think the French started an operation called Operation Barkhane. So in the Sahel region, where they wanted to actually train African soldiers and to be anti-terrorists, they asked every African government to create these special forces, anti-terrorist unit, to be able to prepare ahead of time because they see that the region is being attacked by special forces. So I think Mamadi emerged from that group, and then eventually we are seeing him now leading the country. Can we have any more detail about this guy? Who is he? Some people believe he's a French agent. Some think that this is just another a young African who is just enthusiastic and then hungry for power, inexperienced and naive. Or someone said, no, this guy is operating actually as an agent for the neo-colonialists. Amara, can you tell us a little bit, who is Mamadi?
Oh, thank you very much. I think we have a lot of news emanating about Doumbouya, the new kid on the block in Guinea. However, in short, Doumbouya is a young man age 41, born in March 1980. And this is 2021, so he is age 41. He's a soldier by profession, now a political person because he's on the helm of affairs of Guinea. This man actually has been in France for most of his life. He's married with 3 kids, and he also served in the French army as a legionary, and he was a corporal by then. He has undertaken military training in Israel. He also went on peacekeeping mission in Afghanistan, and he sometimes also went in Central Africa Republic. We all know since the fall of Francois Bozize, Central Africa Republic have been at war with the Christian Balaka and anti-Balakas. And this man actually was drafted into the Guinean army in 2018, brought in by Alpha Condé today, the man whom he arrested. And he was first promoted. When he came, he was promoted. He was asked to lead the special forces. And later on, he was promoted to lieutenant colonel. And in 2020, he was given a full colonel position. So earlier this 2021, it was widely circulated in Guinea, especially among the army, that Mamadi Doumbouya was actually pushing for the special forces to be recognized monthly and also be given power. And he fell out later on with his overlord, that is the detained man now, Alpha Condé, when Alpha Condé passed on a law like increasing the presidential salary, dropping some part of the military and also the civil service. So it was widely rumored that Doumbouya was actually aiming to ensure that he has some amount of recognition and also given power. Suddenly, on the 5th of September 2021, we heard he took over power into Guinea. I think, in brief, this is what we know about the new kid on the block. And there is little known about his unit. However, it is widely circulated that he's a brilliant soldier, a very good leader. But I know we have type of leadership and we have radical leadership. I think in this situation, to end my statement, in this situation, we will need leaders like Mamadou Doumbouya, because you have people who can lead in time of controversy. And he is a war leader. He has already taken over power. Perhaps just after this, we need a leader who does not have a kind of a revolutionary mentality to lead Guinea. But that is short what I know about Doumbouya.
Thank you very much. Professor Kone, Doumbouya is referred to as an elite soldier. Someone like we've seen what's happening recently in this West African sub-region. In Mali, we've seen this French trained commando take over. We've seen in Chad, the guy that took over is also French trained. Then now again, we have Mamadi. Is it neo-colonialist penetration or Secretary Guinea that we are seeing right before our eyes?
You know,
in the person of Mamadi Doumbouya.
I was listening to Senator Edwin Snow the other day when he described Guinea as an unusual country, meaning that what we see happening in other countries is not possible in Guinea. He was speaking from the fact that when Sékou Touré said in 1958 that we prefer freedom in poverty than slavery in riches, that Guinea has been on that trajectory. It has relationship with France, the colonial power, the former colonial power, but the relationship is not in the same way as with Ivory Coast or other part of Africa where French colonized those countries. All right. So now, if we see that throughout Sékou Touré's time in power, the opposition, stronger opposition, all the opposition to Sékou Touré came from France. France supported a lot of Guineans that were opposed to Sékou Touré. Okay, to see Doumbouya, we didn't hear about Doumbouya a few days ago. Doumbouya only came to our consciousness on Sunday when the coup was announced. So obviously he being not only being trained by France, all the other military guys you talk about were trained by France, just like between any other country where, you send your soldier for training in America, in Europe, anywhere. But this guy was part of the French military force, part of the French legion. Okay, so if you are part of that, and he is out here today, overthrowing the overthrowing a democratically elected government, obviously it is fair to say that he is an agent of France. So I've said, if you check my post this morning on my Facebook page, I said I don't trust any word from him. I'm only looking forward to his action. What he does now and onward is how I'm going to determine who he is. But everything anybody says of him right now is not clear. Daddy Kamara came to Guinea with a whole lot of flamboyancy, talking about all the good things. What happened to him? How he ended up. So Doumbouya cannot be defined by what he has said so far. Doumbouya will be defined by his action. What he does from now on. Is it going to be a quick transition? Is he going to stay in power for long? 1 year, 2 years? That would define Doumbouya. Not anything anybody can say about him right now.
Thank you very much, Professor Siddiqui. Edward Amara is optimistic about Doumbouya, and the professor is a bit skeptic and a realist. We have to see the facts. So we cannot judge the book like that just by a cover. So he also said Guinea is an unusual country, citing the tradition of Guinea always being a patriotic nation that's now always, they don't have puppet leaders. They always produce patriotic leaders. So we will see. What do you think? Because Mamadi is linked also to AFRICOM, trained by the U.S. African Command and all these things. Is that enough for us to classify him as a new neo-colonialist leader on the block?
Absolutely. For me, I before we get to Doumbouya himself, it's an established fact that Doumbouya is part of the French Foreign Legion, and we need to go back into history a little bit and know what's the French Foreign Legion all about. It was established in 1831 by the French government, and it was established immediately in response to the Algerian struggle. So they were in Algeria to counter revolutionary forces, freedom fighters in Algeria. So the French Legion, the French Foreign Legion is an army within the French government that you don't have to be a French citizen, you don't even have to be a French resident to be a member of. They can recruit you from anywhere. Maybe when you sustain injury, or life-threatening injury, they can award you French citizenship. So it's an army that fights outside of mainland France, the French Foreign Legion. So, and they fought several wars. They participated in several wars from 1831. They fought in Spain. They fought with the Italians. They fought in Crimea. They fought in several areas. But my area of interest, all the other wars they fought, the ones that interest me the most are the wars of colonization. The ones they fought in Africa. They fought in Dahomey. Because when King Benhazi was trying to protect his territory, the French sent the Foreign Legion to counter his effort to secure his kingdom. They also sent a legion in Madagascar. They also sent a legion to fight Alamami Samoei Toure, which is something of huge interest to me. So it was a French Foreign Legion that actually counter, that destroyed Alamami Samoei Toure's leadership and captured him. So this is not a force that was just created. It's been around for a long time. So Doumbouya fighting within the French Foreign Legion and serving within it for a long time is sufficient reason for me to be skeptical about Doumbouya, because the French Foreign Legion has historically fought against independent movements in Africa, and they have counter-revolutionary forces and put in place puppet governments and destroy African kingdoms. They have overthrown kings in Africa. They have helped to overthrow African governments, and the French Foreign Legion is notorious for protecting French foreign interests in Africa, not just Africa, but I'm interested in Africa, but they do in other countries, in other continents. So the reason why I started with this before going to Doumbouya, because it's established by the two previous speakers, the professor and brother Edward Amara, that he was a member of that legion. As a legionnaire, he coming to he was called by Professor Alpha Conde to come and head the special forces in Guinea. So that even should create some skepticism as to whether a man who served in the French Foreign Legion should be the right man to lead the special forces in a country like Guinea with a huge revolutionary credential, the Guinea of Ahmed Sékou Touré. So that's still Mill already. He headed the special forces. So like Professor Conde said, it's right for us to wait and see his actions. Sometimes actions can contradict your history of participation, your history of interaction, your history of alliances, and it also can contradict some of the perceptions people have about you. Until the actions can contradict what has been established historically, we'll continue to be suspicious of him because of his service in the French Foreign Legion and the fact that France has a notorious history of overthrowing African governments that are not in their line of thought or that are not protecting their interests. Lately, President Alpha Conde had been very hostile to French foreign interests. Initially, Alpha Conde was considered by all of us as a French puppet because he has still long in opposition, like Professor Conde said. But when he became president, it came a time he started going counterclockwise with some of the interest lines of France, some of the concessions that France was interested in Guinea. They were given to Chinese, Russians, and Canadians, Australians, and other people. That didn't go down well with France. France wanted to change our ECO. The West African countries agreed to have a currency called ECO, and ECO was supposed to have been hashed in 2020. And this 2021, we should have been using ECO. So France wanted to get Morocco into ECO, and France also wanted to turn CFA into ECO. And the French and the West African finance ministers had a meeting where I think about 5 countries voted against it. I think Liberia, Guinea, Ghana, Nigeria. So about 5 finance ministers voted against turning CFA into ECO. They wanted to revert to the original agreement, which was to do away with our real currencies and embrace one currency to enhance trade and boost economic activities in our region. So the fact that Alassane Ouattara was pushing this French ECO concept and Alpha Conde opposed it, in addition to some of the other interests of France in the country that he opposed, that may have been seen as an affront to French interests in the region and also a refusal by a colony to be submissive to their former colonial master. So all of those may have played out in the coup.
Thank you very much, Siddiqui. Brilliant analysis there. You touched a lot of points. And when we come, we'll take a short break. And when we come back, we will continue the discussion. We'll also read your comment. We'll take a short break now. We'll be back. Please stay with us. Thank you for watching Focus on Liberia. This is Roundtable Africa. I am Sekou Keller, your host, and we are discussing the topic Guinea in political turmoil, the military takeover. And we have important guests with us here today. Now we'll read our comment very quickly before we go to the next question because we are running out of time. We have contribution from Christopher Lotwe Togbasi. I don't support any third term, but the army is wrong. The army should stay out of politics and stop overthrowing leaders in West Africa. Also, to cut the long matter short, the army must release President Alpha Conde to the international community. Let's remember, preservation of life is paramount. Thank you very much, Brother Christopher. We have another comment here from Darling Wardwood. He says, staying in power for 30 years is a step forward. I don't blame that idiot. Okay, sorry, we can't read this. Profanity is not allowed here. We have Isaac Sito said, dictatorship in Africa will not be tolerated in sub-Saharan Africa. No African leader must tamper with the constitution to stay in power. Absolutely, we all agree with that. I think our panelists also agree. If you don't support any third term and the army is wrong, then how can it be prevented? What's the solution? Absolutely, that's the question. George Lobo said, great conversation. Thank you, George. We always bring you the best. Topla Popo said, this president deserved what he got. Well, I just want the military to turn things over to democracy, not to come still in power. But that's the dilemma. We don't know. So we have Nathaniel said the president was the cause. Don't know what you mean. We should have elaborated further. James Cole said, Brother Sidiki Kamara, thanks for your brilliant analysis. I think you are very right, especially regarding the health of the president. Yeah, many people believe the president is not too well. The professor also said it. Duka Kodoswe said, this professor betrayed academia, metamorphosed him into dictatorship. After all those years of struggle, he is a complete no. The professor did not support the dictatorship. You didn't get it right. Darling always said, Mamadi Doumbouya, a strong man. Well, we have Chris Singer always in the comment. Jim Davis said, wow, I love this guy. A real no African politics. Yeah, we always have the best on our show. And we'll read the last comment. Said, does this professor think that a dictator like Alpha Conde could allow mass demonstration beside the constitutional change? What about the disregard for the rule of law, corruption with impunity and suppression of opposition? That's a good point there, Professor. Alpha Conde has always been suppressing demonstration, a lot of opposition leader in prison. What's your reaction to the comment quickly before we go to the next question with Edwin Amara?
Well, I do agree with all the many things people are saying. You know, Professor, like I said earlier, Professor Alpha Conde has been a great disappointment to the democratic aspiration of Africans everywhere. Because if a man spends 40 years of his life advocating for democracy, we expect that when such a man gets to power, things are going to change. And he being the first democratically elected president of Guinea since 1958, people expected so much out of him. But again, he didn't do things the way we expected him to do. But the dilemma still is the military intervention the solution here? We are all skeptical. I'm a skeptic when it comes to military intervention because giving over 60 years, military intervention has never been good for Africa. Liberia is an example. We had one-party system in Liberia, though he fully stepped in, saying that Liberian people have suffered too long. This time around, we bring liberation to them. But why did we end with? Samuel became more brutal, more corrupt than the system he overthrew. Also, Daddy's Camara in Guinea, so arrogant with power, moving everywhere. We saw Lansana Conte. He overthrew, he interrupted a democratic process because when Secretary died, I think there was a system in place for some Lansana Diavoki to replace Secretary as a president, right? We all know that. But that process should have taken place in 30 days after the president's death, but the military stepped in with the argument that people were arguing among themselves as who to succeed. Okay, this time around, it's the same situation. Lansana Conte stayed in power for close to the same amount of time Secretary was in power. You know? So you can never trust military, more especially the Guinean military, or military for that matter all over Africa. If it should be temporary intervention to restore order, that's fine. But we don't even know yet how long this guy going to be. So to praise him now as a hero, I disagree with that. I hope to see him doing things the right way before I can put him in the category of a leader, of a heroic leader for the Guinean people.
Thank you very much, Professor. I'm up to you there. The professor said you can't trust the military. You can't trust the military.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, just a minute.
It's better. Yeah. It's better when you study the character of people, you will not be confused by their wordings. Having said that, we know Guinea needed a change, but who will do the change? The professor make a very good submission that the people should have demonstrated. That is very perfect. But we all know the history of Guinea demonstration. What do you think would have been the result if the Guineans have actually come out in the street to demonstrate against a brutal and unthoughtful and unscrupulous leader like Lansana Alpha Conde, who can easily use the military against his own people and eliminate them? We have seen that. It has happened on numerous occasions. We have seen that people were killed. Even when this camera took over, when those people went to demonstrate against them, we saw what that Dakiti and others did to this civilian. So they are very conscious. I think Guineans needed a change, and I'm not trying to subscribe to any coup mentality into Africa. But however, I think the change in Guinea came at a time that everybody. It was well precedented, but nobody knows when the coup would have actually taken place. And this coup is a bloodless coup. Only few I can describe it as a bloodless one. And we have seen people are publicly manifesting their hope into the current kid on the blood, that is Mamadi Doumbouya. Or what we are hoping for is that let him actually hand over power to a civilian rule, and he shouldn't violate the constitution that he came to protect. Because Lansana Conte Alpha Conde clearly violated the constitution, and we needed somebody to restore democracy into Guinea. And if either this man come into power, let him just do whatsoever thing it takes to restore democracy, because the professor actually betrayed Guinean. He abused the law that he has been quoting. No wonder he was in opposition for 40 good years. We needed a change, and that change has come. Let's accept it this way, but let him quietly hand over power to a civilian government. That could be very good.
Thank you very much, Edward Amara. We needed a change, but we don't know exactly if this change is the exact change that we needed. Up to you, Brother Siddiqui. Now, what's next for Guinea after the coup? Are we going to see a transitional government with military and civilians, or we are just going to see a military, like now they've replaced all the prophet in the governor imperial region with military? Are we going to see just military transitional government, or are we going to see like what we have in Mali of civilian and military? What's next, and what do we expect? What should we expect?
Yeah, first of all, before I go to your question, I would like to say it was not entirely a bloodless coup, unless maybe those that die are not important to most of our analysts who continue to say it was a bloodless coup. Credible information reaching us put the death toll between 24 to 100. 24 seems to be the most credible, the more credible number. Others are saying it's around 100 people that were killed. Even though most of those that were killed were soldiers, but they're still Africans, they still have families, they are still our people. So it was not bloodless at all. And the second thing is, he's not going to protect any constitution, because he has already said that the constitution is suspended. He has dissolved the government. So by Brother Amara saying that he should not violate the constitution he came to protect, he did not come to protect the constitution. He has said clearly that he has not come to protect the constitution by suspending it. If he came to protect something, he wouldn't suspend it. So he suspended the constitution, dissolved the entire government. So there is no initial actions have shown no hope, no reliable or credible hope of an imminent transition to democracy or imminent transition to constitutionality. So I share the pessimism of those who feel that the junta is going to overstay or probably not restore democracy. They're going to go into a different direction. We just hope that they're going in the right direction. And specifically to the question, what's next? There are several theories. There are several theories that we can consider. One is the military will perpetuate their stay in power. They will muzzle the opposition to them. They will go after those who want to oppose their stay in power. They will suppress democratic rights, and they will consolidate power across the country as they have already begun. Doing, because they have replaced all the superintendents in the Francophone area. They will call them the prefects. They have replaced them with the commanders of the different barracks in those counties or those regions, and they have replaced the mayors with the military people in those places. That's an indication that they are consolidating power nationally. There cannot be any reliable hope that we're going to transition. They are going to transition to democracy anytime soon. That's one theory. The second theory is the international community might exert more pressure on them for them to revert to constitutionality. And if that pressure is substantial enough, it may weaken their desire to stay in power for long, and they may come up with a shamble government, a civilian government, to organize election. But before that happens, they may have spent at least 2 years in power or more. They will loot. They probably will loot the country before organizing an election and paving the way for transition. The third and unlikely theory, the third theory, in fact, is that the French government that we suspect to be part of it, to be a supporter of the coup, an underhanded supporter of the coup. The French government they are being in power, may determine, maybe based on their relationship with France, their former colonial master. So France may be cutting the cards, because if they can secure the concession interests of France, they can secure the regional interests of their former colonial master. That will determine, or that may determine, how long they stay in power. As long as they have that French legitimacy conferred onto them, that could determine whether they stay longer or they will transition to democracy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that brings us to our final question, Professor. Can the international body amicably solve the political crisis in Guinea? And on a Pan-African show like this, when we say international body, we want to first begin with African Union, ECOWAS, and all these bodies that are concerns Africans. Of course, you will join the United Nations, then EU later on. Can they solve this crisis? Because some people said they already failed. They could not stop Condé from creating his third term. They could not stop all the things that happened that led to this particular situation that we are in. So right now, hoping that they will go in there outside condemnation and all that, there is nothing much they can do. Are you also optimistic that they can solve this problem?
Well, if you look at the history of ECOWAS intervention in various situations in Africa, there's been success and failure. When Fuari Nyasingbe put himself in power after his father's death, ECOWAS compelled him to relinquish power and organize election. And I think the speaker took over at the time as interim leader. Election happened, Fuari Nyasingbe won, he came to power. We saw in Gambia where Yahya Jammeh didn't want to go, but because of ECOWAS intervention, he was forced to leave power. All right. There's an apparent failure of ECOWAS in Niger, where military took over and ECOWAS has not been able to convince the guy to leave. Okay, now Guinea is a test case, it's another test case for ECOWAS. Will ECOWAS succeed in pressuring this guy to leave power? It remains to be seen. But first, we also have to understand ECOWAS succeeded in when the military guy took over first in Mali. ECOWAS succeeded in forcing him out of power. Then civilian guy took over. Now the same military guys are in power there, and ECOWAS has now succeeded in that place. Okay, now when it comes to AU, AU failed in Libya. They took a stance against the Western intervention in Libya, but the Western country, mostly America, were able to cajole many of our leaders into supporting their action. With one clear example of Jacob Zuma, who refused to capitulate to the Western power against Gaddafi. So in the case of Guinea now, it remains to be seen what's going to happen. But ECOWAS has already made it clear that they do not support the military intervention. They have also called for return to civilian rule. But whether that will result into Alpha Condé being put into power, that is not being made clear. And I think given Alpha Condé's health condition, that is not going to be a possibility. But ECOWAS is already taking a stance against the military intervention. They already made it clear. So it remains to be seen whether they will be successful there as they were in Gambia and other places. Our eyes are open, looking forward to what's happening in the next few days.
Thank you very much, Professor. Also, you, Amara, the professor said there have been failures and there have been success stories that ECOWAS has always tried to bring us back to civilian rule. Do you think this time is going to happen?
Oh, thank you very much. I just want to be very pessimistic with the current administration into Guinea, and I believe that everything would go into shoot forward. Having said that, ECOWAS or AU, then UN and other international organizations are very limited in acting into situations like this. Though we already understand about their pre-written traditional responses whenever situations like this emanate. And since a situation like this are very unprecedented, they have pre-written statement, carefully kept, date can be edited, and they can issue them anytime to condemn these things. We saw what happened in Niger. There was an attempt. The military never succeeded. I think through negotiation, it happened. We saw how it happened in Amadi Toumani Touré case in Mali. And later on, we saw a civilian coming in the form of IBK. IBK violated everything. He was very weak to prevent those people. And we saw demonstration. Military came in. The civilians demanded for a kind of reframe of the military regime. Another civilian came in. Giota took over, Kobe into Coup. And we are seeing today in Guinea. I think the international community cannot amicably solve Guinean problem because they fail to do their homework. If you are a teacher, went to school and failed to teach your children or your pupils very well, and if you give them any homework, you don't expect them to perform very well. We know these people, they always believe in condemnation. There were precedences into Guinea that would have corrected this particular situation. And now the people have taken the law into their own hand by solving their own problem. The most important thing that I believe that ECOWAS will definitely solve by handling Guinean issue is to first persuade the military to release Alpha Condé. Alpha Condé may definitely be released, and I believe that the current administration or the past administration with Guinea, with France, was definitely not friendly because Alpha Condé showed loyalty to that of Russia with Putin. France is not actually friendly with Putin. He switched loyalty to China because of bauxite. France was not very friendly to another controversial regime in the Middle East and Europe, that is Turkey, headed by Erdogan. He was Turkey is also definitely involved into this thing. And even when some journalists and other human rights were actually arrested, they demanded for Condé to release them. He failed. Maybe that man could have emanated from that. Sometimes the coup, I think they have other experts into Guinea that would have actually informed Alpha Condé about the intention of this rebel today, who has already taken it over the government. But unfortunately, he had an acrimonious relationship with Macron, so they remain seated. So unfortunately, because of the inability of ECOWAS to involve financially into the Guinean crisis, they may definitely not succeed to take over amicably. And even with sanctions cannot solve Guinea's problem because of the involvement of Russia, the involvement of China, the involvement of Turkey, this controversial, unpredictable, who are fighting for financial moves with the US. They can definitely support Guinea in one or two ways. They may hit sanction of them, that one is very perfect, but those countries can smuggle money, they can smuggle whatsoever thing, and the military will definitely solve. So I say it is up to the Guineans, it is up to the civil activists, it is up to the young people, as Professor rightly suggested. It is up to them to maintain the tenet of democracy and force the military to respect the constitution. Mr. Kamara perfectly said, but I think the traditional thing about military regime, when they take over, what do? They suspend the constitution. I think he made some submission. Dumuya, if I can definitely remember, in his meeting held, or when I listened to some of the submission he made into the meeting held on the 11 o'clock on Monday, he said they are going to change the constitution, especially the clauses that Alpha Conde, the detained dictator, amended to bring him to power. They are going to bastardize those to eliminate them. So we are hoping. But the international community cannot solve, especially ECOWAS cannot solve Guinea's situation because they are only willing to condemn. They will not involve financially, and Guinea needs something more than ordinary condemnation. Alpha Conde may be exonerated, but Guinea crisis may definitely not be solved. I think it is high time Guineans should be brought to board because Guinea have been used to draconian leadership. They have never enjoyed democracy compared to like of Sierra Leone or any other people. They have been used to a militant state. President creating a personal armed faction to protect him. Mind you, to end my statement, Mamadi was brought in to protect the interests of Alpha Conde. It is just unfortunate that the table turned over him because he was brought in to protect his interests in case controversy like this emanates. Unfortunately, the power-hungry boy took over him and arrested him. I think he just demanded for him to be released. Thank you.
Brilliant analysis there, Edward Amara. He said the situation is unpredictable, but it's up to the Guinean people to decide their own destiny. I will read a few more comments, gentlemen, then we'll have your closing remark, then we close. New comments, a lot of comments are coming in here, a lot of people watching. What we said, French Foreign Legion can be classified as a terrorist organization. Well, we don't know that. Comfort said African leaders that violate the constitution are causing problems. They are definitely causing problems. Then one who said again, French undermine the process of West African having a single currency. Having a single currency in West Africa meant French losing grasp and her 8 colonies, which also mean economic setback for France. Definitely. That's why they undermine the entire process, as our guest here mentioned. Molba Yassiya said, good analysis, Sidiki. Sidiki, a lot of comments out here for you. Stanley Sonkale said, the third time of Alpha Conde was never democratic. You cannot alter the constitution and suit your parochial interest and yet claim to be a Democrat. Hence, the military overthrew an autocratic regime. Well, the military is not a savior. We can't trust them too. Mohammed Kone said, Africa need to think big. The bigger we cannot continue to take order from France and undermine our peaceful independence and democratic process, he meant to say, in Africa. Ibrahim, we have another comment from Abraham Bengu said, come, host, don't even mention ECOWAS because it's a toothless bulldog. ECOWAS is indeed a toothless bulldog, but we saw that they removed Laurent Gbagbo, so they've been doing a lot of stuff around here. And then they removed Yahya Jammeh, as well as the professor rightly mentioned. Comfort Henry, ECOWAS needs to intervene before this problem occur in Africa. Prevention is better than cure. Yes, prevention is better than cure. That was the last comment we'll read, and that is very, very true. In fact, Professor Chokbana Tipote, one of them wrote an article on this. He said prevention is better than cure. Why is it that when African leaders are violating the constitution, they are oppressing the opposition? Why is it that ECOWAS don't speak out until things go out of hand? Your closing remark, Professor.
Well, it is unfortunate that when Professor Alpha Conde changed the constitution to allow third term, and that let's not only talk about Guinea. Africa is in the same situation. Ouattara changed the constitution in Cote d'Ivoire. ECOWAS didn't say anything. Alpha Conde changed the constitution in Guinea. It didn't say anything. But that's not the only area too we should talk about constitution maneuvering to change the constitution. But just that, if you look at Nigeria, Obasanjo tried to change the constitution for the third time, but the Nigerians stood up against him. He did not succeed. Then when you go to Senegal, Abdullah Wade, he tried to change the constitution, but the Senegalese said no to it. They succeeded in preventing it happening in Senegal. Okay, it is just unfortunate that Ivorian and the Guinea were not able to stop both Ouattara and Alpha Conde. And unfortunately, there's no history of ECOWAS intervening in situations like that. They have never done anything when it comes to president maneuvering to change the constitution. We have not seen anything, any effort like that from ECOWAS. So to say that ECOWAS failed, well, I wouldn't say they failed. ECOWAS only intervene when situations like that happen. They have succeeded in some, they have failed in some. You know, but clearly, you cannot blame ECOWAS for what happened in those countries. If the Nigerian could stand up against Obasanjo and the Senegalese could stand up against Abdullah Wad, the Guineans should have stood up against Conte, and the Ivorians should have stood up against Ouattara.
Thank you very much, Professor. Thank you for your contribution today. We really, really appreciate it, and thank you for the powerful and educative analysis that you've made. We appreciate you, and we would like to have you on this show another time. Thank you very much. Back to you, Brother Siddiqui. What's the impact this coup d'etat that we saw in Guinea? Will it have any negative impact in the sub-region?
Yes, so definitely it will have negative impact in the sub-region because it's an inspiration for the military across the sub-region. When it happened in Niger, I would suspect that the Malian military drew inspiration from what happened in Niger, and also the Guinean military drew inspiration from what happened in Mali. And who knows, other military within the sub-region, especially the Man River Union, could draw inspiration from what happened in Guinea. God forbid, we don't want a situation like that, but that's the danger of this kind of scenario, because the military start to see themselves, start to find reasons why they should do something this idiotic. Because to reverse democratic gains in any of our countries right now is something that we should not pray for. It's something that it will carry us backward. We have suffered a lot. We have gone in refugee life. We stay long in exile. So we don't want to go back to that kind of life anymore. So we don't want any inspiration. We don't want our militaries to be inspired by anything, of this nature. So, and before I conclude on that, I would also like to show you that it will also have negative consequences within Guinea in terms of ethnic cohesion. Guinea, we already know that our politics is over-tribalized. The over-tribalization of African politics by African politicians is very unfortunate. It has led to so many terrible things in Africa. But Guinea specifically is extremely over-tribalized. You have the Fulanis and the Mandingos don't get along. Among the Mandingos, the Konyaka, the Manikas don't get along. So that is going to manifest in the aftermath of this coup, because you see things like if it is the Mandingos in Guinea and the Fulanis, you see total Mandingo solidarity against the Fulanis. They don't care about whether the person is competent or not. Always, it's all about protecting my ethnic group or protecting my region. At some point, it will become regional. You'll see that the president, secretary was from Frana, Alpha Conde from Kurosa, and this other guy from Kankan. So initially, if it was a Fulani Mandingo thing, you will see all the Mandingos one side, the Fulanis one side. Now, with this situation, you see the people from Kankan will say, now this is our turn. Even though they are all Mandingos, but there will be that rivalry. They will say, this is our turn. Then the Kurosa people will also be against it. The Konyakas on the other side will say, we should have extended if the president had left power. So you see that intra-ethnic rivalry and also inter-ethnic rivalry will continue to sharpen. And it's not good for our sub-region. Ethnicity has always been a big problem in West Africa, has been a big problem in Africa. And this coup is only going to reinforce that ethnic rivalry, intra-ethnic rivalry, and inter-ethnic rivalry, which will have spillover effect across the sub-region. And lastly, for me, some of your comment, those that are commented, I just want to respond to one of the comments there regarding the military coming in to take over. You couldn't expect the larger military to put up any defense against the special forces, because President Alpha Conde had elevated the special forces above the traditional military in the country and given them so many privileges. They had the right to pay their own men, and they had so many privileges. They had unrestricted access to the presidency, which the rest of the military may not have had, or in fact didn't have. So you don't expect for that group, that privileged group, to overthrow the president, and the group that didn't have that privilege to come in defense of the president. So it's not something that you should expect. So if you did not give me privilege, you give another person privilege, that person goes to attack you, you don't expect the other person to come who did not have the privilege. So I think that's the reason why you didn't see that mass response from the rest of the military. But finally, for me, we should always discourage military coup. We should always discourage tribal politics, which is entrenched in Guinea and in many other countries. It will continue to cause more problems for us and push our countries backward. If we want to engender a new spirit of development, we have to always preach Pan-Africanism, and we always have to see ourselves as Africans, and we should fight for socio-economic development. We should fight for good leadership regardless of ethnicity, regardless of political alliance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ricky. We're very happy to have you today on our show. Thank you for your brilliant analysis. Your contribution is very much appreciated, and we will always like to have you on this show. Indeed, our country are highly tribalized. The politics in our country are highly tribalized. So people always look for opportunity like this to be able to stir kind of chaos and anarchy in the country. We know Guinea's situation already, and we know what's happening over there. So we really hope that this young man and his group will look at the overall interest of the nation, put the country first, and be inspired by a predecessor like Sekou Touré and other Pan-African soldiers who took over the country and put the country first. So he will not allow himself to be used by neo-colonialists. Africans are tired. Africans have suffered a lot, and we've been humiliated, and we need change. We need a breath of fresh air. We don't want to see ourselves again with military juntas passing around oppressing us. We want to think about the future. We want to make use of the opportunity of science and technology that is now taking over the world. We want to use this opportunity to help the new generation. We don't want to see ourselves holding our bags, putting our bags on our back again, running to villages, seeking refuge. This is not what we want in 2021. We're reading these things that they happened in the 80s, in the 70s. We don't want to see that in 2020. And we hope that this brother will definitely make us proud, and he will not embarrass himself and his own ancestors who have fought to make that nation great. Edward Amara, we needed a parting comment from you, but it seems the network will not allow you. So, gentlemen, that's it. You have not, Professor, you want to say anything before we close?
No, just thank you for the invitation. I appreciate it. And
okay.
and thanks to my namesake Sidiki in Morovia, a great analyst of African affairs. And but Amara Edward, you know, he's fantastic with his analysis of issues in Africa. You as well, you are a great Pan-Africanist. We disagree a lot on a lot of issues, but I have great respect for your thoughts.
Thank you very much, Professor, and we appreciate it. And we close with our song, We Are All Liberians.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our home. Liberian people. Give
DJ House of Pain. Yes, I like this one.